Hello. Hola, hola. Hello, hello, hello. So, in today's video, I wanted to do another reading. So, today's reading is a book that I had to read in one of my English classes. English, it was, oh my goodness, I can't remember what it was, but it was one of them. I took like a bunch because I majored in English and creative writing. And the book that I wanted to read from is called Devoured by the Moon. Devoured. Devoured by the moon. Devoured by the moon. I keep on forgetting, so if I stare like this way, it's because sometimes I'm trying to see the way that the camera's being projected, because I'm using the backside of my phone, so then I don't have like an actual clear picture of what my phone is seeing. So for me to see what's going on, I see there. So I'm gonna try my best not to keep on looking that way, but look here. Just an FYI. Devoured by the moon. So this book is selected poems from Rafael Pérez Estrada. This is him. This is Mr. Rafael. By the time this video comes out, it'll be later on, but we still have like family friends visiting us, so if you hear them in the background, hopefully it's like mumbling, hopefully it doesn't catch too much of that noise. But I wanted to quickly read the introduction. It's not even that long, but let's read the introduction. It says, Rafael Pérez Estrada, although still relatively little known outside circles of admirers, produced some of contemporary Spain's most distinctive and original literature, and was twice a finalist for Spain's National Literary Prize. His creative energies were frequently directed at destroying uncritical notions of how literature is classified. Certainly some of that energy is discernible here in these fine translations by Stephen Stewart. Although it was Pérez Estrada's return to the relatively traditional novel form towards the end of his life that brought him the most critical attention, these pieces are more characteristic of his mature writing than are the novels. Over the course of 4 decades, Pérez Estrada created an extraordinarily inventive, varied, and surprising body of work. It may seem remarkable that an unassuming attorney, I didn't know that he was an attorney, specializing in marriage law in a provincial city of southern Spain, could create a world of such astounding verbal and visual richness. Nice. Nonetheless, for those who knew him, his prodigious creative powers seemed like the most natural thing in the world. Pérez Estrada was, in fact, famous Perez Estrada was in fact famous for his quick wit, unique imagination, and expressive brilliance. In conversation, he could be highly intellectual and outrageously funny, and was routinely both at the same time. His legendary storytelling skills were perhaps best experienced at the Wednesday lunches he presided over at the Biltmore restaurant. For the group of friends who regularly shared table with him, these lunches, which often segued into tertulias lasting many hours, were the highlight of the week. Born in Malaga in 1934 into one of the city's most prominent families, his childhood home was so severely damaged at the outbreak of Spain's Civil War that the family had to move to a downtown apartment. His father was a highly regarded doctor, and his mother an accomplished painter, whose stage set for Ramón del Valle Inclán's Los Cuernos de Don Friolera won a National Drama Prize. In 1954, Pérez Estrada left Malaga to study law at the University of Granada. After receiving his degree in 1959, he moved to Madrid, but stayed there for only a year. Before returning to Malaga to begin his legal career. He traveled frequently, often in relation to his creative work within Spain. Throughout Europe, and also to North and Central America. His first book, El Valle de los Galanes, appeared in 1968, and from then until 1990 he produced a voluminous body of work, publishing well over 24 books, almost exclusively in local presses. Malaga continues to foster a uniquely rich publishing tradition. Most of his work in these years was published by the poet and renowned editor Ángel Cafarena under his Guadalhorce, what is that, a B or an H? I can't tell. Tardo. Imprint, a direct descendant of the Imprenta Azul, where so many of the famous generation of 1927 poets began their careers. In 1990, his book, Libro de los Reyes, was published in Barcelona, and from that moment his readership grew significantly, as did the critical attention given to his work. In spite of serious illness, the last years of his life were especially productive creatively. Between 1997 and 2000, dang, this author was alive when I was alive. Well, I guess it's kind of like how my great grandma, she passed away. It was a year ago, I think. I can't remember, but she was born in 19 imaginative power through a poetic language that compellingly unites moderation and extravagance. The imagery is often startling, the metaphors surprising, yet behind the word games, the extravagance, and the surprises lies a profound inquiry into the individual's place in the cosmos. That's me with my existential crisis. Again and again in his work, the redemptive power of creation confronts the inevitability of mortality. Oh my goodness. Guys, this is like funny because I'm always asking these deep questions that I cannot get the answers in this lifetime, and so I tend to run wild with my existential dread, which is not good. So it'll be interesting to kind of read these poems. His characters all face the challenge of making the impossible possible. The feelings of urgency and vertigo that such a feat produces are heightened by the knowledge of its ephemeral nature. Readers familiar with Spanish literature may well see affinities between Pérez Estrada's work and that of Ramón Gómez de la Serna, the early avant-garde writer, famous for his Gregorias, short aphoristic texts of often surprising imagery, and it is the general context of European avant-gardes that Pérez Estrada's early work can best be understood. In a wider European context and closer to our own times, an essential reference is Italo Calvino, a definite influence on the development of Pérez Estrada's aesthetic of brevity. In this country, the writer nearest to Pérez Estrada's aesthetic sensibilities might be the poet Charles Simic. I don't think I've read any of his work. Gómez de la Serna, Calvino, and Simic could serve as guideposts for readers interested in situating this work in a comprehensible literary context. But the poems here stand by themselves as testament to the author's imaginative brilliance. Years ago, before I had even met Rafael Pérez Estrada, he sent me one of his books. He was kind enough to sign it for me, drawings of stars and moons included. I like that. Ending his inscription with, "From the south in the imagination." The imagination as a place one travels to. I love it. The imagination as a place one travels to. That is a central experience in reading Pérez Estrada. And as with certain pilgrimages, this journey is best made more than once. It is worth the effort. Stephen Stewart has done us all a great service by making these pieces available to an English-speaking translate like I usually try to do, and then I will read the English version of it. Okay. Sombras. La sombra es el reverso del alma. En el Japón del periodo Muromachi, un joven samurái regaló su sombra a su señor. Y como la sombra es el ancla del cuerpo, el guerrero, ya libre, voló al infinito, dejando tan solo la cadencia de un haiku amoroso. Hay sombras asesinas. Los niños juegan a lo imposible pisando sus sombras. En las aglomeraciones hay que procurar no perder la sombra. Nada tan triste y peligroso como el ir con la sombra de otro. Wow, eso es muy cierto. El pulcro procura que su sombra no se arrastre excesivamente, que no se ensucie y que nadie la pise. En el naufragio de la medusa, una madre, viendo ahogarse a su hijo, le arrojó su sombra en forma de salvavidas. Dice la leyenda que la mujer, ya sin sombra, y sabido es que la sombra es el cordón umbilical que une a la persona con la tierra, murió al poco tiempo. En cambio el hijo, con 2 sombras, acabó sus días como gigante de feria. Para limpiar las sombras hay que pasarlas ante un espejo. Las sombras de los ángeles son ráfagas que se confunden con el vuelo de los pájaros. Oh, I have to read that again. Las sombras de los ángeles son ráfagas que se confunden con el vuelo de los pájaros. Cuenta Plinio el Viejo de un país poblado por sombras sin nombres. It's just, I need to pause quickly before I read the English translation, but does it ever happen that you revisit, be it a movie, a story, a novel, whatever, or even like maybe you play video games or whatever it is, and just like the power of it, you're like bam, 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 and you feel that like gut punch of how good it is because you forgot just how beautiful it was. Because that's just what I felt right now while I was reading it. Okay, now let's read the translation. Shadows, shadows, shadows are inverted souls. In Japan, during the Muromachi period, a young samurai gave his shadow to his master. Since the shadow is the body's anchor, the warrior, now free, flew off into eternity, leaving behind the cadence of an amorous haiku. Some shadows are homicidal. Trying to step on their shadows, children play at the impossible. While in large crowds, you must be careful to not lose your shadow. There's nothing so sad and dangerous as moving from one shadow to another. Excessively tidy people are careful to keep their shadows from dragging too much and to keep them from getting dirty or being stepped on. In the wreck of the Medusa, a mother, seeing her child drown, threw him her shadow in the form of a life preserver. The legend says that the woman now without a shadow, and it's well known that the shadow is the umbilical cord that joins a person to the earth, shortly died. The child, however, with 2 shadows, ended his days as a giant in a circus. Shadows get cleaned when they are passed through a mirror. The shadows of angels are easily ties with the flight of birds. Pliny the Elder tells of a land populated by shadows without bodies. And it's always hard to kind of convey the powerfulness of the words that are written in the author's native language. And I feel like the translation does a pretty good job of helping us understand everything, and I feel like it still has that like impact. It will never be the same, of course, but I really do appreciate like the translation coming pretty close to feeling like those feelings that you get of reading something in a different language that's not like the original. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I thought that I was done, but there's like another page. Okay. So that was not the end of the poems. Let me finish. Okay, let's go to the Spanish one, and then we'll do the English side. En el gran concilio de Alejandría, los padres de la iglesia discutieron vehementes la cuestión de si al morir el cuerpo también muere la sombra. La sombra más transparente es la del pájaro que no llega a tocar el cuerpo del que es sombra. Los amantes exactos tienen una sola sombra. Cuenta Tácito haber visto a un perro huyendo de su sombra que le ladraba furiosamente. El hombre puro no tiene sombra. La sombra de la palabra es el eco. La sombra de la palabra es el eco. Okay, let's read it in English. In the Great Council of Alexandria, the church fathers vehemently debated the question of whether or not the shadow dies with the body. The freest shadow is that of the bird, never touched by its master. Perfect lovers share a single shadow. Tacitus claims to have seen a dog fleeing its own furiously barking shadow. A pure man has no shadow. The shadow of a word is an echo. This is one of my favorite poems. So I'm like looking at some of the notes. Like I didn't really put a lot, but I did highlight some stuff that stood out to me in the Spanish one. And I'm like, wait, like now that I'm remembering as I'm reading this, it's like, oh yes, I really did like this story, and well, this poem, and just remembering some of the things that kind of stood out to me. Let me check this other one. Okay, does it have a back? Okay, yes, it has a back. Okay, let's see. Well, before I continue, what did you guys think about that? Like, for the first poem, I really enjoyed it just because, just how it talks about, like, when we think of our soul, we think of, like, our desires, our will of, like, doing things. Like, the soul is always equated with, like, this pureness, and when it says a shadow is the opposite, the inverted of a soul, where it carries, in my personal opinion, the way that I'm interpreting the poem is that, because he says that the soul is the anchor, or not the soul, but our shadow is the anchor, and that keeps us like tethered. And then it also says later on, when it's talking about the legend of Medusa, the wreck of Medusa, there's this legend that says that the mom gave her shadow to save her son, and she ended up passing away because it says that the shadow is the umbilical cord. So talking about like this is what ties us to earth. So describing the soul here is our soul is something that like being on cloud nine, this kind of giddiness and full of love and kind of living in your imagination of just anything is possible kind of thing, and your shadow is what makes things possible. Your shadow is what makes things possible. It's like what keeps you being real and keeps you going, and it shows the dark parts of you that might not be so pretty, but it like completes you. That's the way that I interpreted it, but I would love to see what you guys think about it. Okay, let's read. This one is called Espejos. Espejos, espejos, espejos. El espejo es el espejo es el antecedente remoto del cine. El espejo es una invitación a la resurrección del pasado. Los adolescentes en la fiebre de la soledad creen que la imagen del espejo es parte de un sueño y la conocen. Las adolescentes buscan huellas de besos en los espejos. El espejo es la presentación diaria del desconocido íntimo. Hay espejos tan tímidos que se rompen ante el esplendor de un desnudo perfecto. Los espejos es su frialdad, no tienen memoria de su antropofagia estética. Hay espejos tan corteses que se niegan a reflejar a lo desagradable. ¿Qué espeja un espejo ante otro espejo? El espejo es el principio de la teoría del conocimiento. El espejo es enemigo de la repetición y cuando la sufre, miente. En la oscuridad el espejo perece. El soberbio espera un aplauso del espejo. En las casas de placer, el espejo hace ménage à trois. Inesperadamente la bruma se abrió al fulgor vivísimo de la hoja del cuchillo. La muerte y el espejo en un solo objeto alzó la mano y con ella el arma, y al hacerlo como un cazador místico, el acero reflejó el vuelo de una tórtola. Nada puede sostenerse en un arma mortífera, dijo el muchacho, mientras que vertical el ave caía a sus pies. En la última noche, el muchacho se miró en el espejo y advirtió su ausencia. El espejo de la tristeza reproduce las imágenes sin color. Se miró en el espejo y vio cómo su imagen le hacía un gesto obsceno. Mirrors. The mirror is a distant precursor of the cinema. A mirror is an invitation to resurrect the past. Adolescents in the fever of their loneliness believe their image in a mirror is part of a dream. Adolescent girls are always examining mirrors for the residue of past kisses. A mirror is a daily presentation of the intimate unknown. Some mirrors are so shy they break before the splendor of a perfect nude. In their frigidity, mirrors are not conscious of their aesthetic cannibalism. Some mirrors are so courteous they refuse to reflect anything unpleasant. What does a mirror reflect when placed before another mirror? The mirror is the beginning of theories of consciousness. Mirrors despise repetition, and when they suffer it, they lie. Left in darkness, mirrors perish. The pompous expect applause from a mirror. A mirror in a house of pleasure creates a knife's blade. The object was both death and mirror. Like a mystical hunter, he lifted his hand, and with it the weapon. The steel reflected the flight of a turtle dove. Nothing can survive in such a lethal blade, said the man. Nothing can survive such a lethal blade, said the man, as the bird dropped straight down and landed at his feet. On the last night, the boy looked for his reflection in a mirror and noted its absence. The mirror of sadness reproduces images, but without color. He looked in the mirror, only to see his reflection making an obscene gesture back at him. This one is also pretty good. Poem. I'm trying to go back. Okay. I'm trying to look at it. One thing that I really loved, what does a mirror reflect when placed before another mirror? In Spanish is que espeja un espejo ante otro espejo. Que espeja un espejo ante otro espejo. And just what we go looking in a mirror, sometimes and I don't know if this happens to you, but for me, sometimes when I'm not feeling well, my anxiety is super high, or I'm going through bouts of sadness without consciously realizing it at the moment. Sometimes I'll go and I want to see something different. I'm trying to find hidden crevices in the mirror and trying to figure out if there's something that will change. And I don't know, it's just this moment of how there's so many things that a mirror can reflect back at us, and some of it might not even be the truth because it's our mind. Because it's our mind being reflected. So, I don't know. Okay, it's kind of late, so I've wanted to read more, but my eyes are I have dry eyes. I suffer from dry eyes, and I should probably use eye drops, but I don't. And the reason I don't use them is because I recently saw some eye drops causing problems, and I freaked out, and I'm I'll just suffer with dry eyes.